Hello everyone, I'm Karissa with Colored Pencil Magazine, and today I'm going to show you how I created this red rose from the Grizaye Rose collection. Now, this is just going to be a speed through to show you my process, and I'm going to give you some tips along the way talking through how I created my piece. For the record, this kit does come with 3 roses to draw. I'm going to do the red one today, but there's also a yellow and a pink one. Alright, let's get right into it. So one of the main points that I'm going to stress to you is to start with your shadows first. Now, the reason I put my shadows down first is because it makes it easier as you're drawing. It helps you to not get lost, because once you start adding your midtones and your lighter tones, you kind of lose the darks, and you want to make sure that you keep your values, and so this just kind of helps with that. I understand that this might not be your usual technique when you are doing your color pencil drawings, but for the Grizaye method, I find that this works best, for me at least, to make sure that I don't lose the details in the picture. So I'm just sort of outlining and marking all the shadows just so I know where the darkest points of the image are, and it helps me to see that detail and not get lost as I go, because it can sometimes be easy to get lost while you're drawing. As I'm doing this rose, I'm using the shade Dark Cherry because it's a really dark red, and I definitely recommend using this over black because black is just too harsh and you're not going to be able to blend out black as well, and it's just going to look too outlined, and we don't want it to look super outlined. We just want to make sure we don't lose the shadows. I really want to encourage you to go out of your comfort zone a little bit if you're trying the Grizaye method, because there's no better time to just try something that maybe you're not exactly comfortable with when it comes to pushing the colors and really getting the pigment on there, because that's going to make the image look a lot more appealing when it comes to a subject like this. Just going in with that color, it makes the world of a difference, and I just want you to feel like you can have fun with it and not stress. It's just about making a beautiful red rose. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want to make sure that it's colorful and that it's vibrant and those colors are as intense as they are in the picture, because I just think that that makes it pop so much. If you decide to purchase this kit, it does come with the option to add on a set of Prismacolors to go with it, with all of the colors, and with this particular red rose, there is 3 reds. I actually really like the challenge of only having 3 reds to use, because I think that I tend to overcomplicate things and, use more shades than I need to. But if you only have 3 colors and you learn how to mix and blend, and the set does come with a blender, and I think that that helps a lot, and it's kind of a fun little challenge to be like, okay, can I complete this drawing with only 3 shades of red? And yes, you can. You can see I'm kind of in the groove of just starting at the base of each petal and getting those shadows in there and then blending it out with the midtones and making it lighter at the end. I've kind of just got a rhythm to it, so I just keep doing that and repeating it until I go all the way around. Now for the petals that you can see the lines in, I just use vertical strokes and I take my darker shade and I make some lines through it and blend it out just so you get a little bit of that detail and you can see the veins in the petals. So now I'm getting started on the background. I personally like to work in sections, starting with the darkest areas first. So I'll go in with my darkest green and I'll put that down and then I just kind of work my way in sections like that. I'll say right off the bat, the blender in the set came in handy. I've never used a blender as much as I did with this drawing, and the reason that it was so helpful was because you're working with a bokeh or like a blurred background. You lay down those colors and those shapes, and in order to get that blurred effect you kind of need the blender to just blend it out and make it look like it's blurred, and I really like the effect that it gave me, and I think I'm going to start using a blender more often. So in this set you have two shades of green. You have dark green and apple green. And at first I wasn't so sure that I was going to be able to make every color that I saw in the picture, but I was pleasantly surprised with my results. I think if you learn how to mix your colors properly, you will be able to get every color in the picture. And something that I definitely think is worth me mentioning is that there's a lot of times you're going to need kind of a brownish color, and the way that I made brown was mixing black cherry with dark green. This is really important because you might be like, oh no, there's brown, I'm gonna have to go find a brown from one of my sets. You don't. It's actually really easy. If you want it to be a darker brown, you just keep mixing those two together. If you want it to be lighter, there is yellow ochre also in the set, so you can kind of lighten it up and make a more yellowish brown. And it's kind of amazing how you can get pretty much every color in the picture. For this little rose on the side, I just do the same thing that I did before, and that's just kind of mark the darkest areas and blend from there. Now there's a few times where I had to make this light blue color, and it's actually really easy. You just take a really light layer of dark green and add white on top of it, and it makes a light blue. So doing the background is actually really easy. You just mark whatever shapes and colors that you see. I actually thought it was super fun to do. My piece of advice is to not over exaggerate every shape you see, because that tends to happen, I think, when we're trying to make something out of an image that is blurry. We try to find shapes to make it make sense to our brains, and I think sometimes it's almost a little too exaggerated, and I think that's where the blender comes in handy. If you do over exaggerate something, or it stands out too much in the background, just take that blender and really blur any bokeh or any shape that's in the background, and I think that that is really helpful. So something that I thought was interesting is I went this entire piece without using black at all, and I thought that I might need black for the center of the rose or like parts of the background, but I didn't. I did use white to brighten up certain areas, but I kind of just made my own dark colors, like I said, with the dark green and the black cherry, and just mixing all the dark colors together, instead of using black, because I think if you were to use black in this drawing, it would just look too harsh. Now, this is where yellow ochre comes in handy. Um, I just colored in that yellow leaf with yellow ochre, and any shades of green that were a little bit on the yellow side, I just kind of mixed that in. Because it is kind of a dark mustard yellow, I added a little bit of white and a little bit of green, depending on which shade I needed for that section. So here's another time where I had to sort of um, make a light blue color. So as you can see, I do a very, very light layer of dark green, and then I add a lot of white on top. And I sort of blend a little bit of yellow on the edge, um, just to mimic the photo. And for the leaf there, I took dark green and I made those little lines in the leaf. And because it is in the background and it looked a little bit too detailed, I just took a blender and really blended out those lines to make sure that it doesn't really stand out. So right here is where I needed to make a brown. So I layered black cherry, dark green, and yellow ochre on top of each other, and a little bit of white, and using the blender I just blend all that together to create the shade of brown that I needed for this part. I found doing this background to be really fun and relaxing because it is just shapes and colors, and it's just, I don't know, there's something about it that's so fun and satisfying because it looks like nothing when you're doing it. Like you just are putting down colors, trusting that it will look like the picture in the end, and then once you're able to see it fully done and take a look back, it just all comes together, and I think that that is such a rewarding part of it. Now I'm just finishing up the final edge of the drawing, blending everything together. I take white and make some circles and then take the blender and blend out the edges to create a more blurred effect. I add some final touches, and now I am finished. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you're able to take some tips away from it to help you create your grizaille. If you are interested in purchasing a kit, you can go to www.paintwithpencils.com. You can see here the photo reference and the grizaille turned into my final drawing. Thank you for watching, and let me know in the comments below what you'd like to see from me next.